Grew up here at Gibson+Greenville, lived his whole life. At the age of 21, as soon as he could, he became a police officer. For 20 years, he served the citizens of Malden as a police officer for that county. Protected the citizens of Malden from crime, protected the citizens of Malden from theft, protected the citizens of Malden from violence. After 20 years, he left the police force, started his own security company, made that into success, and decided that there was a need on the county council for someone who would challenge the system that was there. He made a decision that there was a need on county council for someone who would challenge the good old boy network, stop things from being done as they were, challenge fraud and abuse, challenge waste of taxpayer dollars. So he decided to run for county council. And in his campaign, he promised to do two things. First was to make the MLK, Martin Luther King birthday, a holiday. The second was to dismantle the good old boy network. The second was to challenge the fraud and abuse that he had seen. Now, when he got to county council, he saw all kinds of fraud, all kinds of abuse. And he tried to do everything he could within the confines of county council and within the confines of county administration to deal with those problems. He asked the county administrators, he asked the county staff for information. They refused to give it to him. He repeatedly asked them for the information again and again. He threatened them with FOIA requests. They still refused to give it to him. Finally, when he got the information, he saw a number of things that he thought were criminal in nature. One of those things was the county road program. He saw a road program where for 10 years, virtually every paving contract in the county had gone to one company. One company, Ashmore Brothers Paving, which was run by Richard Ashmore, a former county councilman and friend of county council members. He saw a system regarding road contracts where this paving company was overbilling the citizens of Greenville County. They would submit an invoice saying that they paid 2,500 square feet of paving, when in fact, or 2,500 length of paving, when in fact they'd only done 1,700 or 1,800. And this was repeated over and over again. He saw a system where the citizens of Greenville County were paying $15 more per ton of asphalt than that same company was charging the state and other governmental entities to do the exact same work. Now, Greenville County had a provision in its contract program which would have allowed Greenville County to go back and get refunds from that former county councilman. But for whatever reason, the administrators in Greenville County refused to do that. When faced with this, he tried to go to the members of the county council. They refused to do anything. He went to SLED. They refused to do anything. He went to the FBI. They refused to do anything. He went to the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. They refused to do anything. He even went to the AG's office, the same entity that Mr. Ward's worked for, and they told him, we can't do anything. We don't have the resources to investigate that. Finally, he found a situation where the only thing that was left to him was to go to a body that was controlled by the people, and that's the grand jury. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you need to understand is the grand jury is different from the type of jury that you're on. You're on what's called a pettit jury, and your duties are limited to this case. You are required, you are obligated to only consider the evidence that is presented in this court. You do not have investigatory abilities. You cannot go out, and if there's some hole in my case or some hole in his, you can't go out and do an investigation and fill it on your own. You are required to only consider the evidence in this case. The grand jury is different. The grand jury not only deals with the charges by the solicitor's office and deciding whether or not certain cases go to trial, they also have an investigative function. They can go out, and if they see public corruption, if they see anything that they think needs their investigation, they're allowed to do it. And that's what they were told. On their first day of service, they were given a handbook which spelled all of that out. And it talked about the fact that they can call witnesses, that they can create investigative committees, that they can do all of these things. Well, Mr. Trout got a packet of information to the grand jury in an attempt to request an appearance in front of them. When the members of the grand jury saw that packet and they had a chance to consider that packet, they decided that the matters that he set before them were in fact things that needed to be investigated. And they voted 18-0 to establish an investigatory committee to follow through on that. They then subpoenaed him and had him come to them and talk to them. And he testified before them for 2 hours. After that, the grand jury met again, Ricardo Student was a foreman of that grand jury. He was named the head of the investigatory committee. He called, not Mr. Trout calling him, he called Mr. Trout and asked for more information. Now, he didn't just call Mr. Trout, he also called a couple of people from county council as well, or not county council, but from the county administration as well, to try to get more information to decide what they wanted to do. And he called them for the purpose of figuring out who else needed to be called in front of the grand jury so that they could follow through with their investigation. Now, after that phone call, during that phone call, Mr. Student asked for some additional information. Mr. Trout emailed him that information. Eventually, people found out that this is what was going on. They found out that the people of the grand jury were proceeding on this issue without the say-so, without the authorization, or without the control of the solicitor. And it got shut down. Now, after that happened, there are those who decided that they needed to make an example out of Mr. Trout. And that's why you're here. This is not a case about justice. This is not a case about a crime. This is not a case about protecting the grand jury procedure or protecting justice or anything like that. This is a hunt for a trophy. This is a hunt for the head of Tony Trout. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you are required to sit back and listen to all the evidence in this case. And you are required to hold the state to their burden, which is they have to prove every element of the crimes that they are submitting to you beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's a very difficult burden. And we're going to talk about that later when I get another opportunity to stand before you for closing. But if they don't meet that burden, no matter how you feel about Tony Trout, no matter how you feel about anybody in this courtroom or anybody who testifies, you are obligated by your oath to acquit him. And I think that is exactly what you'll do at the end of this case.